coaches. So who can tell me in Major League Baseball of all time, who is the winningest manager?
Winningest manager?
Yeah.
Casey Walter Austin?
No.
Casey Cynwyd. Earl Weaver?
I can say there's a Philadelphia connection.
Connie Mack?
Connie Mack. Yeah. Any guess in terms of how many games?
Oh my God, how many wins?
Yeah.
Al's over 1,000.
Yeah, 37-31. And number 2 is Tony La Russa, I think he's still managing. 29-02. Okay, and how about in the NFL? Who was the winningest coach in the NFL?
Belichick.
Don Shula?
Alice.
Don Shula. Very good. And well done. And who said Belichick?
I did.
Yes. He's a little bit behind, 333 to 347, but he has other pursuits these days. Okay. So first, I'd like to thank Rick Trevane for suggesting Sean as our speaker today. Thanks very much. Let me just give you a brief introduction. Sean is a Pennsylvania native, a Temple grad. He could have gone anywhere, but went to Temple. And a family man. Sean's life recently took an exciting turn. He enrolled in a business coaching program, and it has been truly transformative. Now, Sean has the privilege of working with small business owners, helping them turn their visions into reality. His goal is to empower these businesses to not just survive, but to truly compete and thrive. Through his work, Sean has found a deeper sense of purpose in his career and in his life. So let's give a warm welcome to Sean Montgomery.
I appreciate that warm welcome, and I appreciate you guys having me here today. I had the honor of coming here a couple weeks ago as a guest, and it was a good time, so I appreciate that. Learned a lot about Medicare fraud, so thanks for having me again. I appreciate that. Today I'm going to be talking about how helping other people actually helped me. Okay, so as I said, my name is Sean Montgomery. The reason I'm here today is because of these 3 people right here. I went to college with that guy right there. He was my roommate, he's my best friend, and he's also the best man at my wedding. And then obviously I've known his parents since college, and I appreciate them and their guidance in my youthful years, and also having me here today. So I appreciate that. Alex is also one of my clients as well.
I can vouch for him.
So I'm going to start with a quote. I heard this quote about 6 months ago, and it changed my life. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar, salesman, author, motivational speaker. It really hit me really hard, and it changed the way that I think about my career. You can have everything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want. And when you're young and you're going after your career,
Let me just move this over.
sure.
Okay.
Thanks, Rick. Your pursuits are, for yourself, for your career, to build your career, maybe help your family. But I've learned that helping other people is way more fulfilling, and it's changed my life. So just a brief intro of my childhood. I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That's an actual picture of me, and an actual picture of what Hershey, Pennsylvania looks like. I do have chocolate in my bloods and a very sweet tooth, so I'm a Pennsylvania native for sure. So I want to start with work. After college, I went to Temple with Alex. I worked for 2 huge corporations, and I was a follower. I was way in the back. I was entry level. I was doing mundane tasks for these huge billion-dollar corporations, way in the back. I was too afraid to take on a leadership role. I was too afraid to take on a managing role or take on even more tasks. So it was very quiet, and I didn't like it very much. And frankly, these companies didn't really care about me. We were just a number. We had crazy turnover at these companies, so people quit all the time, and I wasn't really getting fulfillment in my life. So I decided, after working at 2 huge corporations, I wanted to try to work for a small business. And that is when this happened. Again, this is a real picture of the dentist office that I used to work for. Crazy place, really crazy place. They had been in business for 30 years, but it felt like the wild frontier. I mean, they had nothing written down. There was no organization. The owner of the company, who was also a dentist, is one of the meanest people I've ever met. He loved yelling. He loves throwing things. He loves slamming doors. I didn't realize that kind of behavior still happened at offices. So I didn't know what I had signed up for when I came on this place, but this is what it was like. And the problem was it was really hard to get good people to work there because they didn't want to work for a bully in the way that he acted. So we also had a lot of really not great employees as well. So I started working there, worked up the ranks, and I became the billing manager. And this is what I did, and this isn't to toot my own horn or brag about myself, this is just for the context of the story, but this is what I did. I wrote job descriptions, I changed the hiring process, I trained all the new employees, I wrote the manual on how to do every single job. I created SOPs and KPIs for all jobs, not just the billing department, and I took over the software department. They had their own software, and I started developing that. I handled all money that came into the place, and within 3 months I was third in charge of the company. I got rid of some bad people, and with my own money, I would pay for my team to go out for drinks once a month, and I also organized and paid for the Christmas party because the boss didn't want to have a party for the employees. So, again, that wasn't to toot my horn, that's just to show you the progression here. So this was the impact on the company. In 6 months, they saw their first profit in 3 years. They stopped writing off old dental claims. As you guys know, you have a certain amount of time to submit a claim or it's too late from the insurance company. We got rid of that. We streamlined the process. All claims were on time and followed up on. And we also created software that was more efficient and had less human errors. That was the impact on the company. This was the impact on me. I was working over 60 hours a week. I was taking work home on the weekends. I was very stressed out. I was getting less than 4 hours of sleep at night. I was lucky because I was so stressed out. I lost 23 pounds and I doubled my blood pressure medicine. So my wife wasn't happy, my doctor wasn't happy, and I wasn't happy. I was working like crazy. And the thing is, with all that going on in my career and my life, and then this happened.
Oh, good.
So cute.
There was 2 big goals I only ever wanted in my life, and one was to be a husband and one was to be a father. And I felt like I was failing at both of those things because I was never home, and when I was home, I was thinking about work. I would bring work home with me. Some days I wouldn't even see this little guy at all. I would go to work and he'd be asleep, and I'd come home and be asleep again. And I felt awful, and I felt like I wasn't doing the right thing of what I wanted to do and be a good husband and a father. Now, with all the sacrifices I made, do you think my boss thanked me?
No.
This is a real picture of my boss. That's me there. He never changed. He was, like I said, a ruthless, greedy person, and he just yelled so much. I didn't realize people could yell that much and not lose their voice. And it was a really tough experience for me, and I'd want to go home at 6 o'clock after an 11-hour day, and he'd say, "Get back to work, we have more work to do." So the thing that I've learned is that even through bad experiences, you can learn something. And this is what I learned. I learned the wrong way to run a business. I learned the wrong way to treat your employees. But I also learned how to grow a business. I was able to take more of a leadership role and create all those documents for the teams for training and growth of the company. And I also grew as a person. Like before, when I was at corporate, I was a follower, and suddenly I was a leader. It wasn't something that I wanted to or thought I would get, but because no one else was doing it, I felt I had to do it to help the company. So I really had to get out of that place. It was killing me. I was killing our family. So I gave in my resignation 1, 2, 3 times, and he did not accept any of my resignations. He always would say, "Hey, I'll change, stick around," and I believed him foolishly, and he never did. Finally, on the 4th time, he accepted my resignation, but he said, "You have to stay on." I said, "Whatever it takes, just let me leave this place." He said, "You have to stay on as a consultant." So I had heard the word before, but I didn't know what it meant. But I accepted the job because it got me the heck out of there. So suddenly I'm a consultant. And I had to wonder, like, what is a consultant? What is my job? So I looked it up on the internet. A consultant is someone who provides expert advice to businesses to help them, right? They usually are experienced problem solvers, and they're usually solving a specific problem, like an SME, which is a subject matter expert. And that's what I was. I was an expert in the billing department, and I was an expert in the software department. So they call me, and they ask me questions, and I help them out, and they give me projects. So I started doing consulting. Now, while I was looking for my next job, I connected with this guy on LinkedIn who ended up becoming my mentor. And he said, Sean, would you like to be a business coach? Again, what the heck is a business coach? And the more important question is, what's the difference between a business coach and a consultant? Now, those are two words that are thrown around a lot, and people use them interchangeably, but they are actually different. And I entered this program, and I learned how to be a business coach. So let me tell you what the definition of the two of these are based on the program that I joined. So a business coach is going to guide and teach the business owner on strategies to grow their business, but the business owner is going to do the work. While a consultant, they're going to give direct solutions and complete projects, and a consultant is going to do the work. Again, this is the definition based on the program I'm in. I'm sure you guys have heard different stuff. But just to review, a business coach, if you work with a business coach, you're doing the work. If you work with a consultant, they're doing the work. And a great analogy for these two things is a business coach is like a personal trainer. You're going to meet with them regularly. They're going to help you work on fitness, get in shape. But you're the one that's lifting the weights. You're the ones doing the sit-ups and the push-ups. A consultant is like a surgeon. They're going to come in and clean up, some problem areas, and then they're going to leave. Well, business coach is going to be a longer relationship. I am technically both of these things, but today I want to talk about why I love being a business coach and why that has more value to me. When you're a business coach, you get to meet one-on-one with the business owner or the contact at the company, and you get to do a lot of great things, including you get to develop their skills they didn't even know that they could have. You get to empower them to put those skills into action. You motivate them. They think, oh, I can't even do this. I never thought about this before. But you can motivate them to do it, and you inspire them to get those new tasks done. And the best thing is that you provide accountability, right? Just like a personal trainer, we could all get fit. We could all go on the internet and learn out exercises and stuff. But the reason people hire a personal trainer is because they make sure you're actually doing that work. And that's what I like about it. We're not just like a consultant who's going to tell you what to do and leave. We're going to stay with you week after week and make sure that you're implementing those things into your business. So one of the reasons I love being a business coach is I actually get to make the business owner stronger and more independent over time. It's like that old saying about fishing, right? We're teaching them how to do these things on their own. And that's why it's been so powerful for me, and I'm sure many of you have had the opportunity to be a mentor or a teacher to somebody, and that's been extremely fulfilling to me and changed my life when you get to watch someone else succeed instead of just yourself. So these are the sad truths. These are statistics estimated, but 20% of new business fail in the first year, and we're talking small businesses, and 50% of new businesses fail within 5 years. So half of small businesses don't make it to year 5. And even crazier stat is that only 25% of new businesses make it to the 15th year. So that's like 75% never see year 15. And that's crazy. And it's not because they weren't smart, or they didn't have a good idea, or they didn't try, or they didn't care. It's because they lacked some simple business strategies and accountability to get those things done. Now, when I joined this program, one of the advisors said this great quote, and it also changed my perspective as well. Our goal is to end small business poverty.
Nice. Good.
Yeah, that one really stuck with me because so many small businesses really struggle, and they don't have to. There's good people. They're trying to provide for their community, for their families, but they're lacking some simple business strategies to help them grow. And most big corporations are doing well. They don't need a lot of help. But I will say, most big corporations do have a ton of consultants. So they see the value in that, but most small businesses don't have a coach or consultant. So that's why we want to help them grow their business and be competitors on a global scale. So we do that by teaching them 12 strategies. Now, we did not invent these strategies. They've been tested and proven. They've been around for 80 years. And the crazy thing is most businesses don't use them, especially small businesses don't use these strategies. Even some big corporations don't even use all of them. Now again, we didn't invent these strategies. They were borrowed from successful companies like these two here. I'm sure you've heard of them. Toyota was famous for their lean manufacturing, which is when they would have a really efficient assembly line and there'd be almost no waste of time or materials. And as we know, McDonald's is a behemoth of franchising and exponential growth. So those were the two that we based the system on. So, do you want me to show you guys the 12 strategies?
Yeah.
I usually don't do this in my presentation, but since we're among friends, I can do that. So I'm giving you guys the keys to the kingdom here. So there they are. Now, we won't go over all these. We can talk about it later in the questions if you have any questions. But the big thing to remember is that we're not just going to teach the business owner how to do these things. We're going to help them implement those things, and then we're going to meet with them every week to make sure they're still doing these things. All of these steps aren't a one-time thing. You don't just do it and then you're done, right? You have to continually do it if you want to grow your business, right? Think about like the Golden Gate Bridge. That's a large bridge. And when you paint it, by the time you get to the end of painting it, you have to go back and start painting it again. That's this process here. It really never ends. But again, most small businesses don't know about these strategies and they're not using these strategies. So again, we're back to the quote that changed my life. You can have everything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. And again, I can't stress enough how fulfilling my life is now. I get to watch other people succeed and do things on their own. Alex is one of my clients, and it's crazy when he just throws away all this business jargon now, just because from our conversations, and he knows exactly what they mean and how to use them. It's like a sports coach, like was mentioned before. At this point in my life, I would much rather watch a team of people succeed instead of myself, because it's such a fulfilling thing. And like I said, I'm sure many of you had the opportunity to be a mentor or a guide in someone's life, and that means the world to me. And then this happened. I don't know how this keeps happening. Will someone explain to me how this keeps happening? No, I'm just kidding. My wife is amazing. We have 2 young boys, and business coaching has also changed my way of how I want to be a parent. It's a great thing to do something for your kids, but it's a more amazing thing to teach your kids how to do it, and then they can do it for themselves. I did bring an activity. If we want to check it out, it is the Profit Acceleration Simulator, which you guys can play around with on your own phones if you want. But that's my presentation for now, if you have any questions.
What's the ideal size small business you would like you can be effective in?
Sure, yeah. For the main rules, obviously, I can figure things out working with people, but really want a business that's been around for 5 years. Most startups usually don't have the capital to invest in business coaching. Usually want more than 1 employee because some of these tasks take time and it's hard as a business owner because they're busy doing a lot of things. So yeah, more than 1 employee, more than 5 years, and then we can talk revenue another time. But yeah, those are the 2 big ones that I look for.
They need to be able to afford you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but usually from doing the strategies, the investment in me is paid for in the first 2 months.
Who did those drawings?
Those were pictures. Those are real pictures of my. No, I was kidding. I used artificial intelligence to create those. Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up with the food business, but when you're starting with, there's a basic marketing concept, I'm sure you heard of it.
Yeah.
Find a need and fill it. And like Boston Market, probably did a lot of marketing, and there was a need for healthier fast food. But I don't even know if they're still around. Are they?
They are.
Boston Market. So do you believe that in that concept, find the need and fill it?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely find a need, and
I
Steve
mean,
Jobs.
in this day and age, that's not easy.
It's hard to find a niche these days because almost everything's been done. What they say with apps is like, I want to invent a new app. Well, that's already been invented 3 times. But what I like what Steve Jobs says is you actually don't find what people need or want. You tell them what they want.
Yes.
And that's how he found success with Apple, because they didn't know they needed an iPod, and he made them think that. Yes.
How many clients could you handle at one time? I guess it depends on the size of the business and what kind of equation do you use to build them yourself? Because you're getting everything in one life. Obviously, you get a salary, you get paid for what you do.
Right, yes. The investment in me is a monthly retainer. And we find that out when we do a very long, as Alex knows, business assessment. So we go through your revenue, your gross profit margin, your net profit margin, and we find out a number that makes sense based on how much money we're going to find for you. Sorry, what was your other question?
How many clients
Right.
you can have, I presume, depending on the size of the business?
Yeah, as a sole proprietor, my capacity has its limits. I am in a large organization, as I mentioned, the program I joined that has over 800 business coaches and consultants. So if I find someone I don't have time for, I can always recommend somebody else. But yeah, I'd say I'd probably max out at probably like 12 clients at a time, personally.
What's the average time you stay with the business?
The average time that we work with a business is mainly 1.5 years to 3 years. Because they usually find the success they need and they know how to do it on their own. Yes?
This isn't much of a question, but a comment. Like, I've been working with Sean since January, and the amount of money that he has helped us save through those 12 steps has actually been enough to pay for his retainer. And additionally, it's been transformative to our business in one of the techniques is establishing a market dominating position, understanding what you offer and what customers want and what your niche is. And that alone has been kind of revolutionary for our marketing, for our website copy, for how we present ourselves to clients. So it's been really transformative in my experience working with Sean, having a business coach. And like Sean said, not a consultant. He doesn't do it for us. He makes myself and my boss do the work. So we're able to keep doing it on our own and not need to hire a consultant in order to do it. So just wanted to give a little shout out to Sean.
Well, I appreciate that. I didn't expect him to do that. I'll have to give him a happy dollar now. But if you do know anyone who could use these kind of things, please pass them our way because we love helping people. Question back here?
Yeah, one tip that I give to friends of mine who go into business or run business is what I learned in Charlotte, North Carolina, working for Walter Klein Productions. We were a team of 5 people making many films. And the trick was that Walt provided us for lunch everything we needed, like bread, cheese, tuna salad, egg salad, drinks, everything. So the whole team sat together for lunch and spent an hour together talking about the projects, and that paid 5 times or 10 times more than what the lunch. The other tip that I give people is generally a tip for life. Talk to people. You are standing someplace, you go to church or synagogue, you have time, talk to people. You never know what the conversation can bring you privately or also for business connections. So, I keep talking to people and it brings a lot. So that's my tips to friends. I just make films, I don't advise like you.
Well, thank you, appreciate it. Yeah, networking is a big thing, and as we said, small businesses are the backbone of every community. So I love being part of different communities. Yes?
I've been reading more and more about what's happening with artificial intelligence and with robotics and humanoid robotics lately. And I've been reading different companies getting more and more involved. Do you think this will play I imagine it would play a larger and larger role in your help for businesses and maybe even in your own business, that will some humanoid robotic take over a large part of your business, evaluating other businesses and suggesting ways to improve it?
I don't know anything about humanoid robotics, but one of the nice things about my program is we do have a class on artificial intelligence. So I meet once a week and learn about AI. and it is really impressive what it can do. But at the end of the day, we've learned to not be afraid of it because it's really just a tool. It's not gonna replace us all or take over the world. It's really just a tool that we use to help us get some tasks done. And you can use it wrongly and waste a lot of time, or use it right and save a lot of time. But for the most part, it's just to streamline operations. Yeah.
And AI told you to say that.
That's right, that's right. Give him a signal.
John, do
Yes.
you get involved at all in products or services that are going obsolete? Like, and this is not small business, but large business. I think about Blockbuster Video, and Netflix, where Blockbuster had a good deal going with their stores, but they didn't realize that the future was in streaming. And Netflix, they used to deliver the VHS tapes, and they understood that streaming was the future. Netflix is a $1 trillion market cap, and Blockbuster Video is out of business. Do you see that in your practice, that products that are becoming obsolete?
I haven't seen any products. I mainly work with people that provide services. I do work with a lot of dentists because I have some experience with that. But yeah, you do have to pay attention to what's happening in the market, and some people don't pay attention, like Blockbuster or Kodak, and suddenly everything's digital and they weren't ready for that. So Alex and I talk about this thing called a market dominating position, which is a statement that you make as a company. And the thing is, you have to keep changing that. You can't just say, this is our market dominating position, this is our statement as our company. That revolves all the time based on the market and your competition as well. So when you make like a mission statement or a vision statement, that actually has to evolve as the world evolves around it.
My big lesson in that was Sears Roebuck and Company, where I had spent for my first 7 years. And they did not recognize discounting, and they had no vision whatsoever for how electronic marketing would transform the marketplace. And where do we find them today? In the history books.
Right, you're absolutely right, yes.
PJ, rate hikes, if you look them up on Google, our utility bills are going up 833% is what they paid on the auctions. And then it's all gonna trickle down, but 10 to 20% rate increase started June 1st. And in this area, as well as New Jersey, Maryland, and 9 other states that are up and down the East Coast. But I wanted to see, when it comes down to it, the reason why is because of AI. That's what they're saying in the news, and because of the Tesla electric cars and so forth, being that the demand for electricity has gone way up.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that, but I'll have to look into that. It's very interesting.
PJ rate hikes,
Rate hikes, okay.
2025, yeah.
I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
I have one credit card, Discover, because I try to keep it simple. My wife has a couple other ones.
Yeah.
But Discover was recently bought out by Capital One. So I know I called the new phone number today, but is that a good thing? When a company like Capital One merges or whatever with Discover card?
That's a tough one. There has been a lot of mergers and large companies buying larger companies. One of the companies I used to work for was a GPS tracking company, and they were bought by Verizon. And Verizon didn't do GPS tracking, but they were so big they decided, I want to get into that. So when you get to that level, you can really get away with a lot. I read an article once that in the future there'll only be 9 corporations left. So I don't know how science fiction that is, but it is scary, and I don't like that when big companies merge. We can see that in the entertainment industry when large movie companies are buying each other. I think Paramount's going through a merger or a purchase right now. But yeah, no, I don't like that when they do that. But they have a lot of capital, so they can do those things.
I wonder if that means I'll get more cash back. I get 1%.
Right.
5%.
No.
They should at least double it to
It's
2%.
Capital One, they're always advertising.
All right,
2%.
Sean, that was great. Thanks so much for visiting our club. You gave us so many really great ideas.
Appreciate that. Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
A final question.
Yes,
Looking back on your own career
yes,
and understanding now from the examples you showed that you've had to work with some very difficult people.
yes.
And what lessons could you tell us you've learned of how to handle situations like that and people like that? Because I had some situations like that in my own life, most of us do. And what did you decide is a good way to handle that, other than just quitting your job?
I'll give you a specific example. I had a really rough day, and the unnamed cartoon in my PowerPoint had yelled at me a lot, and I wanted to leave. And I'm a very mellow guy, Alice can attest. I rarely lose my cool or whatever. And I got so mad that I worked up myself. I was going to go yell at him. And I had never yelled at him in 2 years. And I was like, today's the day. I deserve this. I deserve to get mean, right? And I wrote an email to myself with a script of what I was going to say. And then, like 5 minutes before I went in, I changed my mind. And I just took a deep breath and I went in, and I was just the nicest guy ever. And I just told him how I felt, but I say it very calmly and very coolly. So that was the big thing that I've learned, is to always kill people with kindness. Because the response that he gave was way better, I think, than if I yelled at him. Because I've seen him get yelled and stuff and get really fired up. So I always say, just always be the cooler person in the room. That's helped me out a lot.